Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ, delivered by Papa John's. Here are some of the notable games coming up on Sunday. I think the only not so notable game on the entire schedule is that game between Houston and Indy. But I mean, even that one offers a storyline because Houston can lock up the number one pick with a loss there. Obviously, lots of eyes on Ravens and Bengals. That game is a key one in terms of that AFC North. Jets and Dolphins also has playoff implications for those teams. And the Steelers still looking to get into the playoffs. They can do so, at least get helped along the way as 2.5-point favorites against the Browns. All right, here to let us in on some of their thinking as we head into the final Sunday of the regular season, the Wizard of Odds, Kenny White, and wagering expert Todd Fuhrman. Kenny, give us your top against the spread wager for Sunday.
Jeremy, I went with the New York Jets +3 facing off against Miami, and this may be more of a fading Skylar Thompson bet. Also a little bit of pressure, must-win situation for the Dolphins. Adds extra points to the betting line. I thought this line only should have been Miami 1 at the most. Jets number 1 defense now in the NFL, allowing a little less than 5.1 yards per play. The Miami defense has gotten a little bit better over the last couple weeks of the season, now ranking 14th in the NFL. But I have the far better defense in this game, and I think I have the far better quarterback. I think Joe Flacco is a way better quarterback than Skylar Thompson. So the offensive line is banged up. There'll be 3 starters out. But between those 3 starters, it was only a 1.5 drop off to my betting line. So I still feel comfortable where the Jets are at. They're going to try to run it a little bit. Yeah, he's going to be a statue in the pocket at times. But Joe Flacco will make more passes and more plays in this game than Skylar Thompson will.
To Kenny's point on that game, I was stunned, Kenny, to see how the market responded. I mean, I don't have a 4.5-point discrepancy between Mike White and Joe Flacco, like the market has told us, as the Jets move from a 1.5-point favorite to now a 3-point dog, even trending towards 3.5. I'm going to go after a different underdog, and this game is all about market entry, so I'm a little bit reluctant to share it now because there is a chance you'll be able to get a better price before kickoff if the right dominoes fall for it. But I'll take the Detroit Lions on the road against the Green Bay Packers. My number in this spot comes much closer to 3 than where the market currently sits. You look at the way Detroit utilizes play action. I mean, Jared Goff should have ample opportunity to take some shots against the Green Bay defense that no doubt is trending up. But you look at the recent run of competition that the Packers have faced, and they've been extremely fortunate. The only data point that I can really lean on is last week against Minnesota, but I'm always concerned when the Minnesota players and coaches are criticizing each other because you didn't wear the right cleats. So what does that say about the level of focus? Kirk Cousins struggled, and you saw Jair Alexander really clamp down on Justin Jefferson. But the Detroit Lions have said this game is extremely important to them, whether or not they're playing for playoff positioning or just to spoil Green Bay's season. One of the leaders on the defense, Deshaun Elliott, came out and said he feels disrespected by Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers specifically. I really believe the physicality you see from the Lions' offensive line can make the difference in this game against the Green Bay defensive front that's been vulnerable.
Todd, what about a money line play for Sunday? What do you have for us?
So for the Lions bet, and the number won't move for us, it'll move against us if this money line play comes home to roost, and that is in the Seattle Seahawks and Los Angeles Rams game. I'm going to take the Rams on the money line at +220. When you look at this Rams team, they've been significantly better down the stretch than they were when they were mired in mediocrity in the middle of the year. Baker Mayfield has at least given them a stabilizing influence under center. But more importantly for the Rams, with their much maligned offensive line, you're seeing Cam Akers take on a full workload. He's had 83 carries over the last couple of games, north of 400 yards, and he's come a long, long way from a player that wanted his walking papers earlier, was talked about as a trade chip before the deadline. I know the Rams receiving core doesn't leave you brimming with confidence, but there's nothing about this Seattle Seahawks defense that does either. Meanwhile, on the other side, Bobby Wagner, no love lost against his former employer. Raheem Morris has talked about the level of importance they'll place on playing spoiler for the veteran leader defensively. And the other thing to keep in mind, Jalen Ramsey was absolutely embarrassed the first time around by DK Metcalf. I don't think that scenario plays out here, and I really believe the Rams are going to have an excellent chance to go up to the Pacific Northwest and come away with an outright win.
Yeah, I like that one a lot, Todd. Seattle, not used to being a 6-point favorite over anybody. So a different type of scenario. And again, those must-win situations, they do not always come through. I'm going with the Chicago Bears. I'm taking +230 with them against the Minnesota Vikings. Rivalry type game, last game of the year. Nathan Peterman under center. I don't have that large of a drop off from Fields to Peterman. And as well as the Minnesota Vikings, a paper tiger this year, a 12-4 team with the 30th ranked defense, 16th ranked offense, and a beat up offensive line right now. I think Minnesota's in danger of losing this game, so I like the Bears plus the money.
All right, and Kenny, finish this regular season of wagering off with your top total wager for Sunday.
Yeah, I'm going to go another rivalry game, Cleveland versus Pittsburgh, under 40 points here. The weather's going to be fine. I wish it was going to be windy and rainy and snowy, but I can't tell you that. It's going to be okay. But I can definitely tell you that it's going to be two bad offenses. The Browns' offense has struggled, even under center, with their returning quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers with Kenny Pickett has struggled as well. But the defense has improved vastly, especially since T.J. Watt came back. The defense has been one of the best in the NFL over the last 5 weeks of the season. They have been creating a lot of turnovers, which when you have an under, you really don't want a lot of turnovers. You want more punts than turnovers in this game. But the one good thing is I know Pittsburgh has not turned the football over, and Deshaun Watson should be able to take care of it against this Pittsburgh defense. But I think the game is going to be played between the 20s, so I'm going to go under 40 points.
You know, Kenny, earlier in the show, when you and I agreed on so many overs, rooting for yards, rooting for points, it started to make my skin crawl. So I'm glad we've returned to our roots as far as totals are concerned. You going under in the Browns and Steelers. And I'm going to go under in a game that you mentioned earlier, talking about the Jets defense being the best unit on full display in their game against the Miami Dolphins. Massive downgrades at quarterback for both of these teams, with Joe Flacco not providing any of the mobility of a Mike White or a Zach Wilson, which I think will give the Dolphins defensive line an opportunity to create some of those negative plays. Meanwhile, on the other side, even with a week to prepare a game plan for Skylar Thompson, we know he's going to be much more limited than what the Dolphins would have been able to get out of Tua and or the veteran in Teddy Bridgewater, despite having arguably the best 1-2 punch in the receiver room. This has all the makings of a 17-13, 17-14 type football game. So while Kenny goes under in the Steel City, I'm going to go under in South Beach, under 37 for me in the Jets and Fins.
Our thanks to the always astute pairing of wagering expert Todd Fuhrman and the Wizard of Odds Kenny White, who don't like agreeing with each other. Best of luck this weekend, gentlemen, with the wagers. Let's recap their Sunday picks as you take a look at them. I mean, 8 games in that early window Sunday, 5 games in the late window, and then the Sunday nighter in Green Bay between the Pack and the Lions. That will be the final game of the regular season as you look at the against the spread wagers, the money line wager, top total wager for both. Todd liking Jets, Miami under the total, Cleveland, Pittsburgh under the total. For Kenny.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.